Well, with that, I will call the meeting to order. Let me pull up my agenda. So, quick roll call to make it official.
Grady Bonsall,
Present.
Wally Henson,
Here.
and Matt McKenzie.
Here. All
And
right.
Dennis Sneeden, he is absent.
Okay. Doesn't look like there's any public comment unless Jaleesa has something besides our deal in a second. All right. So we'll move right on to this site plan review. So for you guys' information, I am Level Up Construction. So it looks like I got the quote on, or got the bid on doing this Welcome Center remodel. So like I said, Jaleesa is here if you have questions. She can kind of help talk through what we're thinking about doing, but I'll at least give you guys a rundown of what we have planned and kind of how it's going to go. And really, since it is the city's building, we'll sort of go through this motion for the city. So on the first official page there, really what the project summary is we're adding two exterior access bathrooms that will be ADA compliant because there are no public restrooms out there today. And we have a lot of visitors coming
Just
to town.
porta potties.
Yeah, just porta potties. So honestly, for a better visitor experience and probably to relieve the hassle of them getting asked all the time, it probably would be a nice addition. So sort of the scope of the job, there is one bathroom in use today from the inside for the staff. And then there's kind of an older area back there that I think probably was another bathroom at one time that's just used as storage now. So we have to move one of the interior partition walls just a little bit so we can get the floor space we need to get our ADA compliance. We'll cut two exterior doors into it'd be the west side of the building, I guess. We're going to do two bathrooms, men's and women's, I guess. And then it will require relocating the plumbing because of the ADA configuration so we can get all the space that we need. So there's a little bit of concrete demolition, and then there will be another contractor doing the plumbing since I'm not a licensed plumber, and so he will come in and subcontract that out, and then we'll come back in and set fixtures and do all the interior finishing. So the next page is what the floor plan design looks like for the new bathrooms, and so what I'm trying to show you here is that we did accomplish, for ADA compliance, we have to get a 5-foot circle inside, unimpeded circle inside the bathroom. These are a little bit bigger than what the ADA drawings really require, but we have the width, and our length is unlimited because we already have to move a wall anyway. So I figured let's not crowd this thing up. We got to move it. Moving it a foot versus 3 foot doesn't make any difference. So we're going to expand it out. So there'll be 8 by 6, and then that gives us our 5-foot circle there in the middle. We'll put the plumbing in the common wall between the two of them to save on some of the extra plumbing there. The sinks, the toilets will be standard ADA height, which is basically what they call a comfort height toilet. You can kind of see in my bullet points over there, we've got them all laid out. So the measurements, that should be 18 inches, not 18 feet from the sidewall. And then the toilet has to have 56 inches all the way around it to be ADA compliant. So this drawing gives us that as well. And then the exterior doors will be exterior swinging, so they're not in the way and don't impede coming in, and they'll be 36 inches wide. So the next page sort of shows on the left and these are not to scale at all, but sort of what the existing floor plan looks like. And then on the right is what we're going to do. So if you look at the lower right in that drawing, there's the existing bathroom and then kind of some storage in the back. We'll take those two spaces plus a couple feet out of that storage room, and that will give us our new footprint for those two bathrooms back there. So it's just kind of juggling some walls around a little bit to make that happen.
So where's their bathroom? Their bathroom's gonna tie into the one?
Yeah,
Oh,
the one
okay.
existing bathroom will become one of the new
I see.
bathrooms.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
And you're just doing the two bathrooms on the one side?
Yeah. Yeah.
No bathroom for the employees?
We didn't talk about. I don't think we're going to do that. The floor space that we have will just be. I mean, we're going to use everything that's existing right now for those two. So
Okay.
yeah. So then all that's left is basically the material list, which I know, Kent, you were interested in some of that just for the city's reference. There's the specs on those doors. They're all steel doors. It's all 16 gauge. So, and before we order the doors, I need to get with somebody and figure out what the city's lock combination situation is, because I know that you guys have key fob locks. And we talked about probably doing that type of a lock on those doors and then potentially setting them up so they lock in the after hours, like from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. or something like that.
We don't have that on the park bathrooms right now, do we?
No. We
Okay.
do not. We have those locks purely on physical buildings that are occupied.
Okay. So I guess that,
That lock system can be used in instances like that, but for what you're talking, you're basically looking at two, what we call wireless doors. And it typically requires a server or something like that to actually
Okay.
manage that part of it. All of ours were done via NextStep.
so I guess the question probably is for the city on what you guys want,
How to secure them.
on how you want to secure the doors.
Yeah,
And what you want to use. If you want to treat them like the park bathrooms, those don't lock at night, right?
no.
I mean, so
And we get damage and vandalism in it.
Yes.
yeah. So that's a point that probably,
It needs to be a discussion point among staff.
Yeah.
About how
Yep.
we're gonna try to do that.
The biggest issue with us trying to do the same type of electronic locks is the network connectivity.
yeah.
I would have to basically go back to how we did it before, where I was piping internet. Yeah.
I'm still there.
Yeah.
What's the hours at the Welcome Center for the staff? Just like 8 to 5?
So you're probably going to want the bathrooms open longer than the 8 to 5 hours, but it probably, I mean, if it's
It needs to be
possible.
at some point at night, it needs to be.
Yeah, the middle of the night hours, it would be nice if they were lockable.
I mean, they can still get damaged. It's just like the park bathroom. Some of them get damaged during the day too.
but yeah.
What's gonna be the interior wall?
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Well,
Because that would be another thing to, on that.
yeah.
Because if it's just sheetrock, I mean.
Right.
with
Right now,
the
we're-
vandalism that we've seen.
Right now, we're just planning on 5/8 sheetrock fireboard, basically. That could change if you want to, if the city wants to spec something out different.
A little bit more secure, maybe. I don't know.
We could, we could line the insides of those with metal, and that would deter anybody from kicking a hole in it. But they're still
Yeah,
going to
that-
carve
that
all
was
over
the
it.
part I was thinking of for you is,
Yeah, and the
you know.
the 5/8 sheetrock is going to be substantially harder to kick a hole in than 1/2 inch, but they could still do it.
Well, what did Danny have, a lot of the, like new air dryers and stuff that were,
Yeah, they just tore them off the wall. Yeah.
Really.
But we had, I
so,
don't know, 12 or 13 incidents last year in the various bathrooms, and it ended up to be almost $10,000.
Oh man,
Not quite that much. I'm probably
Yeah,
exaggerating
but
on
still
the amount. But it was-
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, you
Yeah.
increase it for inflation.
Oh, no. That was too high a number, but it was 12 or 13 incidents. It was getting a little tiring for staff
Yeah.
and trying to stop it, and you can't, it is very difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you put in, because we put industrial grade, well, I've done it in another community, put industrial grade, supposedly indestructible, almost prison-like, stool and sink,
Yeah.
and those still got damaged.
Yeah, I mean, we'd just be doing that. That's all in the material sheets here too. I mean, they're just basically standard porcelain toilets and sinks.
Which is just
so-
fine to go with.
Yeah.
Until it shows to be a problem, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Is that mainly happening like during the evening hours or even during day? I mean, the vandalism, do you know, or?
Well, here, most of it was happening at night, was the assumption.
That's what I'm thinking too. So I was just
But don't
wondering.
know, because they didn't really have suspects for any of them.
We do have cameras at the Welcome Center too. I mean, it does a whole lot, so I feel like, not that that's gonna deter anyone, but
Well, and then if you put a sign that says that on the outside, that'll deter
Mhm.
Yeah. you're
some of the
under surveillance or.
um, suspects.
All right.
Say a different word. Stop.
Yeah.
But no, you're just fine as far as the finishes. I don't.
Well, I mean, we've
If
got a
anything
little bit of.
changes, then we'll-
Yeah, if I mean, I guess if there's more discussion amongst the staff about something that you'd like to see different, I mean, if you think about, there's going to be more material costs to do metal, but less finishing costs because you screwed up and it's done versus finishing the drywall. So it's probably about a push. So we just
Might
need to
be a
look
thought.
into that.
Sure.
But yeah, that's good observation. So that's basically what the rest of this thing is just, you know, what we're going to use and sort of what the specs are. Everything is ADA compliant, and we should have all those boxes checked. So
Thank you.
all right. To you, Lisa, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Sounds like no questions for you. So
That's good, hey, that's okay, I'd rather be here just in case, so, thank you guys, have a good night.
all right. Okay, so next item on our agenda is Chapter 4 review of the comprehensive plan. So,
Trying to get to that portion.
I don't,
Or did it? Oh, I didn't.
is it in? She didn't pull that into our packets this week, did she?
No, she didn't. I got to
That
grab
was
the
the last one, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's under 3.1.
Okay.
There we go.
There it is. Okay.
Well, and Wally, before you get going on this, looks like you printed out the previous one. Let me see in your book here.
Okay.
Because it was in last month's. And that's chapter 3. We need chapter 4.
Page 31.
And that's just chapter 4 is what we're just going over again tonight.
Okay.
And it has the draft goals and objectives for the comprehensive plan were developed. And do you have this, Zach, or no? Not in front of you. Or Josh, can you put it up on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh, you have.
He's got it on. Look at him over there.
I'm just waiting.
Were developed based on the issues identified. What the issues were in chapter 3. You guys discussed them pretty well a couple months ago. The draft goals and objectives were then discussed and refined in a community meeting. The finalized goals, objectives, and action statements are presented below. It should be noted that this planning process has occurred at a time when Goodland has actively engaged in numerous activities to improve the community And while some of the goals are new to Goodland, many of the goals included in this plan reflect continued pursuit of goals that have been and continue to be important to the community. So, first one was land use. And the goal was to assure the compatible and orderly development of the community to meet the needs of the residents, to enhance the appearance of the city, and to provide quality, diverse amenities. That's a real good overall goal. I don't know. It's pretty general. But the action steps, did you have any comments on those items? City will adopt regulations to eliminate blight, provide for orderly development, and establish compatible land use patterns. Number 2 was city will establish a formal updating process to keep regulations current. Number 3, city will enact or pursue programs to increase housing stock and or rehabilitate existing housing. This may include code enforcement, community development, block grants, incentives, etc. The city will institute programs and policy to enhance the gateways to the city. This may include road realignment, landscaping, brick pavers, welcome signs, etc. The city will allocate future land uses via the planning process. And the city will conduct a study to determine the feasibility of providing better and more direct access to downtown Goodland. I would say a couple of those city's really done as part of this comprehensive plan. There's a couple others that I don't think much was done. What do you guys think?
Well, I know they've changed the way you enter into the city. That's been changed, you know, to come to the downtown. They used to be kind of confusing. They used to have like a Y or something out there, and I think that's been a big plus. And it's allowed us to put a park and the other dog park on the other side and stuff, so I think that's been really good.
Well, and then even on K27, having the additional signage to show
Right?
Yeah, that
mark it down.
bullet point number 4 is probably one. You see the most action there.
Most action there.
Changing the entrances to the towns, signage, and I hear a lot of comments about, you know, the signage to direct people downtown is good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
and you know, some of these, like I read number 3 and it says enact or pursue programs to increase housing stock or rehabilitate existing housing, but probably the bigger limitation there is people that actually do that work.
Yeah,
If you want a house built in Goodland right now, there's one guy,
right.
and he's booked for a long time.
And he's, yeah.
So, you know, and you can't bring anybody else in from anywhere else because they're busy where they live. They don't need to travel to Goodland to build houses. So, you know, that's probably one of the biggest things about increasing housing stock is who's going to do the work. But, you know, maybe there's more opportunities to pursue other programs. And I know Julie did that one study on the housing study and all that. So maybe there's some work happening now that could lead to things in the future. But
Well, and I think once it can be shown that there's a need and that you can continue meeting that need, there might be more willingness for the general contractors and the other contractors to actually set up shop.
to do more. Yep.
I think she's also been involved with the number 5 future land uses. I think, if I'm not mistaken, she's doing something with the industrial park. I think she's done something with that to try to expand that a little bit. And I know they're doing something with land banks, I think they call them, where they're trying to get some different properties people couldn't purchase or something. So
Several years ago, maybe only 2, some lady who originally was from Brewster but lived in Denver was talking about building 3 houses on the practice fields west of Grant Junior High.
Yeah.
Has anything come of that at all?
There was discussion but it was just preliminary,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then she hasn't followed up. So it takes quite a bit of resources to do that.
Yeah.
And I think once she started putting that together, what it would actually take to do it, it's finding an avenue to do it and the resources to do it.
And then Jeff Bend is planning on bringing approximately 30 people in here in the next 2 or 3 years to work on that canola thing. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That
going to
and-
take some housing.
Goodland Tech's expansion is going to continue to put a need on housing, and
True.
you know, there's a lot of opportunity coming. Whether it comes to fruition or not is yet to be seen. But yeah, I mean, so then you start looking at what lots are available. You know, what blighted properties are out there that could be pushed along and create something better. And then even some of the infill, you drive around. But you know, one of the challenges that I'm facing right now is I have an empty lot in the southwest part of town, but it's one lot, so it's 50 by 140, and trying to build within the confines of the code on that little narrow lot is going to be a challenge.
Mhm.
So we've been looking at, you know, how they did floor plans from the 40s and 50s when, I mean, my parents' house is on a lot that's 50 by 140.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be done,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a different type of house than what people are used to today.
Right.
So, you know, that's going to be another challenge too, is finding the right developer that could build some creative houses like that and use the space we have to infill some of these empty lots.
Well, and how we can encourage that, whatever structures we can put in place so we can encourage that more than once or twice, you know, continuously. Because we do have that opportunity with the infill development to address some of that housing need. Not all of it, but some of that.
Well, and, you know, there could be some big neighborhood revitalization if it's done right. You know, some of these neighborhoods that have houses that are run down, man, what an opportunity to build that neighborhood back up. So, yeah, there's going to need to be some probably new goals written around this about, you know, what the city can and wants to do. You know, one of the things I think about all the time as somebody who might want to build is it would be great if I could partner up on the sewer and the water taps, and, you know, I'll buy the materials and the city gives me the labor kind of thing,
Sure.
you know, because that's an expensive part of putting a new house up. But, you know, it's just one idea, but there's lots of things we could do.
And I think we need to get creative and have those programs in place so that we can get it going. And I think once it gets going, you know, all it takes is a couple homes in the neighborhood, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
people see other opportunities.
Yeah, then it goes.
Well, and also, I mean, we don't always have to have a single home. You can do like a little duplexes, you know, maybe on that property, you can, like what you're talking about, put a side-by-side duplex or up and down, you know,
Yeah.
apartments, because we like that as well. I mean,
Yeah,
not
that's-
everybody wants a home. They may just need a place, a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom
That
place, you know.
multifamily housing is not something Goodland has a lot of.
Right,
Right.
So,
Well, and there's a need, you know, the college has a need.
right,
for that
absolutely.
Right now, and
Mhm.
the hospital has, you know, employees as far as when they're moving in and out of town.
yeah.
And it's just natural, some people move to town, they want to be in a rental for a while
Yeah.
before they choose a home.
And the newer age people, I've been reading a couple of articles, they don't want homes anymore. They just want to rent
Yeah.
little apartments, and they're happy with that.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to maintain a house, mow the yard, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They just want a little apartment, and somebody else takes care of it. They just want to pay their rent. And
Well, and the city commission was talking tonight during their thing, that they may ask the planning commission to look at the residential zoning codes in particular. You know, we have 2 residential zones. Well, a third one with mobile home park, but that's kind of, but just R1 and R2. And does those fit all the different types of housing that seem to be developing?
Yeah.
Whether it's tiny homes or patio homes or different types of multifamily living, combined with, you know, for example, commercial. Do we have the codes that allow us to meet those requests or inquiries? And what's good for good?
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I'm not saying that a whole bunch of additional codes is needed for good, but it seems like just having Model A and Model B,
Right.
or a Ford and a Chevy,
Yeah.
doesn't fit everybody's criteria for
Yeah.
residential zones. They may want something else besides a Ford and a Chevy.
And even some of the existing codes make it difficult to build what's in style today. So tiny homes, you just mentioned it. Today, you got to be above 1,000 square feet, but that code was written to keep single wide trailer houses out of
Right.
town.
There's another
And so
justification for it.
the market has changed. Nobody's putting a single wide up anymore, but they might want a tiny home
Right,
that's 600 square feet.
right.
But that would require, not that we couldn't do it, but they'd have to come get an exception. So, you know, there's probably some updating that needs to happen too, just to,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think we're attacking number 2 in multiple,
Yeah.
or are going to, so. I'm gonna move on to economic development. Unless you guys have another comment or two.
No, good.
The goal was to provide a strong and diverse employment base with sufficient potential for growth, and to provide a broad choice of career opportunities for the present and future citizens of Goodland. Growth will occur because of the quality of life of the community. The action steps that they had, the city will designate specific areas for future industrial and commercial growth. I think the city did that pretty well. Goodland will embrace and encourage diversification among new businesses and among Goodland's existing startup and Main Street businesses. The city will support and encourage the Chamber of Commerce and others involved in economic development endeavors to stay abreast of the means to capitalize on opportunities. The community will team with the VOTEC to address and provide skills training for employment positions created. The community partners will market the community to attract new residents, new business, and visitors. The community will commit to technological readiness with support, infrastructure, a city technology department, etc. You're the city technology department.
Man,
I don't know how I feel about that.
that's official.
I think there's been different structures developed to try to address these action steps. But it seems like this would change slightly based on structures that we have in place.
Mhm. Yeah, as I read through most of these, I mean, I feel like the city's done a good job in general of advancing this particular goal. But you're right; it doesn't look today like it probably did. Well, when it did when they wrote this, because it would have been a chamber of commerce and an economic development group and the city doing something different from the county. And so, you know, it feels better to me today the way that it's headed. But yeah, there's probably a little out of date on some of the goals here. But you know, partnering up with the VOTEC, now the Tech College, I mean, that with what Goodland Tech's doing through there and the hospital with the tapping into that, I mean, two of our biggest employers it's kind of a little jackpot there.
Right. And I think when we go through this and we update the comprehensive plan, there needs to be some additional specifics within this. So you can say that whether we achieved it or not.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's kind of generic, the way it's described.
And I think there is an opportunity to market the community to attract new residents. We did have a falling population over the last 20 years, but I think there is a real opportunity with people coming out to the corridor
Yeah.
from Front Range and other places.
Yeah, and right now Goodland's pretty attractive. When you look at the Goodland, Burlington, Colby options, Goodland's the most affordably priced town as far as housing goes. So that's a benefit to us. And now if you couple that up with some of this business expansion or encouragement, I mean, that's how you'll get them to choose here.
Right.
Colby's done a good job with their business expansion, but the cost of living or cost of housing is quite a bit higher over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's significantly higher. So it's probably an advantage Goodland has right now, but we've got to keep this economic development piece going to give them a reason to want to live here and work here as well.
Right. Quality of life, the next goal is to foster a community of quality that is attractive and that sustains itself through effective and mutually supportive physical, economic, and social systems where every member of the community has the opportunity to live, work, learn, and recreate. And the action steps to do that, the community will proactively support and maintain the medical and retirement facilities. Number 2, community partnering strategies will be developed to address school education issues, including all those things. The city will develop a parks master plan and work on expanding recreational opportunities for all citizens. The city will expand the bicycle pedestrian trail system. The city will improve the access to the ball fields. A public participation process will be implemented to identify areas for future park and rec facilities development, such as a swimming pool, skateboard park, senior center, art center expansion. And the city will encourage Sherman County and Division of Wildlife and Parks to develop Soldiers Memorial Park or Smoky Gardens in the Sherman State Fish and Lake and Wildlife area.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things on that list have come together in the last 20 years since they set these goals.
Well,
The last part I remember said,
Yeah, unfortunately.
and there's not a parks master plan, or at least that I've found. The trail system is kind of happened through the Topside Trail, but that's only one trail. That's not a. And they're trying to have a trail system for the entire city. And the access to the ball fields,
Need some work. Yeah, they got a road, but it's a gravel road.
it's there, but
Yeah.
And better.
was it better than before? I don't know.
Yeah, it's better than it used to be. At least there's 2 opportunities to come in from
Oh, from the
the north
24
and the
26,
east. Yeah.
Now the swimming pool is there, the skateboard park has been added, the senior center is moving along, and the art center is still functioning.
Well, I think they've done a good job with the recreational opportunities, with the tennis courts. I think changed them to the with pickleball courts and put the gazebos there, and that's been, and using the different events we've been doing in the summer now, it seems like that's been really a big hit for people.
And they resurfaced the tennis courts,
Right.
and my sister-in-law moved just north of those tennis courts, and I'm starting to notice how often they're getting used.
Oh, good.
Well, yeah, they used to have tennis courts over there on 8th Street where the city building is, the courthouse. And I think that was a good move because that never got used.
No.
So,
Right.
yeah.
That's that part. And then the next one is public facilities. The goal is to establish, plan, finance, construct, and maintain Goodland's infrastructure systems that are the framework for sustainable development. And the action steps are the city will adopt and implement a community-wide stormwater management plan. The city will adopt and implement a pavement management plan. The city will adopt and implement a program as far as the sidewalk pedestrian system. The city will continue the water and sewer plans to provide a water supply system for potable water and fire service for wastewater and for wastewater treatment. City will assure adequate water, sewer, and power available to accommodate future expansion of the city. And the city will adopt and implement a capital improvement program to address needs for a new museum, community auditorium and meeting place, airport facilities improvements, including runway and buildings, etc. Those are good action steps. I wish there's a little bit more specifics to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely number 3 needs some work.
Yeah.
I mean, we got, it's like, some people have sidewalks, some people don't have sidewalks, and then
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, exactly. yeah, it's like, you're walking on the sidewalk, then you gotta go on the road, then you go back, you know, it's just across the street. At least on the main roads, for sure, it needs to be. But, I mean, it'd be nice to have all the roads, but I know that takes money. But what they've made changes to, I think they've done a nice job with putting the new curving in and the easy access, you know, like it's handicap accessible.
Handicap ramps, yeah.
Exactly. That's been nice.
Oh, I guess I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's sub goals. Action agenda is the next part.
Oh.
And they have a table with the objective and the action step and then the action agenda. And it goes back to the overall goal. And then the regulations and effective enforcement mechanisms. Have the zoning reg, the building codes, the environmental code. We'll establish a formal updating process to keep regulations current. They're going to have a yearly review. And the cities will enact or pursue programs to increase housing stock and or rehabilitate existing housing. And it has, as the action agenda, codes revision and adoption, enforcement program, research staffing needs to pursue community development grants. I actually think part of that's really been acted upon here lately, really being an emphasis. You had the city will institute programs and policy to enhance the gateways to the city. And the gateway plan extend into city adopt a street. Although I think the gateway plans kind of just stayed with the gateway plan, I don't think. The adopt a streets really.
I haven't heard anything about that, so yeah.
Future land uses. Here it has an action step of adopt extraterritorial zoning and subdivision regulations. Have an infill plan and adopt comprehensive plan and land use plan. They did adopt this comprehensive plan. There was a lot of pushback regarding extraterritorial zoning and subdivision regs when that came up a few years ago. There was a lot of pushback, so they didn't proceed. And then the infill plan, I think with the housing committee and then the applications for the moderate income housing, even though they haven't been successful yet, has kind of made that more an actual, something's happening.
Yeah, there's some movement, yeah.
So any comments on that first page there?
I guess for me, I was just looking at the, where did I read that? Something about yearly review.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if that's been happening or not, but I definitely feel like that's something that needs to be, stay on top of, make sure where are we, kind of like what you're saying. Okay, let's set some goals, what we want to accomplish, and then evaluate. And then how far are we 50%, 60%, or 20%, you know? Where do we need to put our finances into, or our workforce to get these things accomplished, you know?
The builders board is really updating the different codes. Now they have about 9 or 10 different codes to update. They've updated the electrical code to the 2020 National Electrical and the plumbing to the 2018 International Plumbing. And they've already accomplished those two, and the mechanical. And all of those were either 90s or 2000, so it was over 20 years since they updated the codes. But those deal with building codes.
Right.
Other regulations, they haven't gotten to yet, but I think we're getting a functioning board that is looking at those things, or we'll have the capability to do some of that, at least regarding building codes. Now, as far as other zoning codes, just like when we talked about how, residential zones, that may be something this board will discuss and start being involved with a little bit.
That's what I was going to ask is, was that not happening because they didn't have the environment for people to continue that, or they just got dropped, or just?
Well, yearly review, that is ambitious. To have that's where I would like a little more specifics. What do you mean?
Yeah.
If it's a yearly review of all the codes, that's too ambitious.
Yeah.
But if it's on specific codes, yes. Or if there's a process to say, well, we're identifying this one, we want to review this one.
Okay.
And I don't think it was really hard to get members for a planning commission. In fact, even now, especially if we lose Dennis for whatever reason, we still have an open spot. And without Dennis, then there's 2 vacant spots. We need people to volunteer to be a part of it. Currently, we have 7 members of the builders board, and it would be good to continue to have active participation from all 7. Both these boards are important to accomplishing these goals and action steps.
Sure.
If you don't have the people, it's kind of hard.
Right.
Then it's just the staff's opinion, and that's not a good structure to be in. I'm going to move on to the next page. And they have I'm just going down the action agenda on the right side for the economic development. Comprehensive plan as far as future industrial and commercial growth. Continue cooperative program to pursue new opportunities. And then cooperation among entities, track regional, state, national, and international trends, as far as encourage Chamber of Commerce and others on economic development endeavors. Establish communication mechanisms for needs awareness. Establish a marketing program. And then bury utility lines, establish dialogue for mutual cooperation among entities as far as the city technology department and support infrastructure. I wonder what that was. What was the discussion that brought that on?
I do know in the past that a lot of the community IT people would get together for a monthly lunch.
Yep, I used to do that.
Something like that.
Yep, I was on it.
that.
Yep. I
I
was on
think
that.
I've been to one since I've been here. And that was because of a particular incident
Sure.
where all the IT people got together.
Yeah, we would get together and we kind of share ideas, what we're doing at our offices and what type of infrastructure we got set up, or OS, or, you know, hardware and stuff like that. So we'd go over to Gambino's and talk about that stuff. So.
Well, now they took away your meeting place, so.
Yeah, we haven't done that in a few years. Been a while.
Again, a little bit, and it's, but this one's a little hard to be specific, but
Yeah.
I think kind of the things that have kind of happened in the last few years as far as combining the different entities
Mm-hmm.
and what is the expected outcome or goals of that type of cooperative work. That's the kind of thing that can fit within this. Again, it's okay, what are the specific structures? The details of how one project actually comes together is not as important as having the structures in place. And just like there's now a committee that's starting to talk about putting together business incentives as far as, okay, what is a plan or guiding document so that it can be set in place to be able to respond
Mm-hmm.
to a variety of situations, rather than having it ad hoc with each potential.
Is
But
is it important to note why we need to do this? I mean, because I know a lot of times the community people are asking, well, you know, let's say like this is buried utility lines. Well, why do we need to do this? We've always had them above the ground. I mean, do we need to explain that? That the reason is maybe beautification of the area or high winds, you know, or whatever. Is that something that needs to be shared on that as well? Why or?
you know, and then that might be useful,
Okay.
especially as we're looking back now. We're going, okay, what was
Yeah.
the,
What were they thinking?
Right,
What was the
exactly.
reason?
Exactly. What's the point? Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're trying to sift, okay, what, you know,
Where were they going?
where were you going?
Yeah, yeah.
And not saying, you know, 2020 hindsight, you can say, okay, that's not the best idea, but it doesn't mean it was a bad idea at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just writing down a note for myself, sorry. I'm going to move on to the quality of life. They have an action agenda of investigate a sales tax to recruit medical doctors, pursue Flight for Life program at airport, establish communication channels. Got part of that done.
Yeah.
Begin that dialogue as far as the school education issues. Develop rec and arts master plan and parks master plan. As far as a trail system, include in thoroughfare plan, explore grants opportunities. Next one, park master plan, and then last one was pursue parking opportunities.
Could just find that park master plan, huh?
And we can just find that park master plan.
Yeah.
Well, if we could back up, maybe you have more history on this, but I know there's, like you said, there's a group that is doing the pedestrian trail system here in town. Do they have to come to the city commission or anything like that to get
There's
approval?
a
or-
former city commissioner on it, but they don't make regular reports now to the city commission.
So how do they establish the route, and they can just make the route wherever they want?
They did do that. They did come to the city commission for that part.
Okay, okay.
And there was an initial grant which required a trails master plan, and that was completed in 2018. And then the grant was 19 and 20, and then they've been able to succeed with portions of it and had additional grants to finish it through the college area.
Okay.
So it's been successful, and often several parts of it have been successful.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a matter of, okay, how do you keep that going?
Mm-hmm.
What are the next parts to that?
So something like that, would we, if we was to incorporate that, would we want to get one of their members to join in? And what was your idea? So we can kind of have more details, or would come up with our own thought, or?
I think as part of the comprehensive plan, it would refer to the Trails Master
Yeah.
Plan, and then
Good.
it probably would be good as part of the update process to have them come and talk to you all about it. Where they see that in 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
or 5 or 10 or 15, whatever progress.
For reference on the Trail Master Plan.
Right. And they did have a public hearing on that, although I don't know how much public participation, because they needed to get it done in order to have the grant application completed. So I don't know what the public participation consisted of.
Is that available on the city website, or where's that at?
I can send you a copy. It probably should be on the city website if it isn't already, so.
It's not. Because the resolution to pass it is, but that's as far as it went at that point.
Mhm.
Because then the other group took over and I believe they made changes.
They made changes to the Trails Master Plan since then, but
Hmm.
that was the original one that was
Okay.
completed, and
For the grants and the initial grants.
yeah.
I thought they had a map on this thing.
It's probably on the, if it's not at the very bottom of that document.
I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm being naive, but it seems like if you would share this with the community, maybe you can get more people involved that might want to be part of this. But I mean, like me, I've never seen this. I know a couple of people who are on the team or on the group. And that's it. I only know when they meet or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I think it should, because it's been successful
Mm-hmm.
with the trail as it's configured, and now it's how do you connect to other nodes within the city.
Mm-hmm.
But the connection between Pioneer Park, Stever Park, and the south side of the college area. And I got a map from Andrew, because he's on that as well, but with EBH Engineering, that shows it much better and highlights the actual trail and stuff. There's part.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the initial thought. Some of that. But it was just like, now there's starting to be discussions with them, and then it's just at their meeting earlier today, actually. Was it today? There's too many meetings. You know, the whole discussion about how to connect for the college kids that live on Highway 24,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and then to the commercial area or Walmart
Right.
and other places along for work, for those that work, and for those that, you know, I come across people walking along Highway 24 at various times. There needs to be a better pedestrian route and a protected route to get to
Well,
those places.
I mean, there is that road right behind.
19th Street, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that was 19th Street, but that road right there. That's all gravel, but still.
It's paved for a couple blocks.
Is it? Oh,
To get past ag liquid and then it
Right,
goes
yeah.
to dirt, yeah.
okay.
But that would be safer than walking along Highway 24.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
But whenever it gets wet.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
gonna happen
when
all that often, whenever it becomes
That's a mud
pretty
hole.
damn nasty.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, because I often thought about that too. You see the college kids or whoever walking.
you know, there's college apartments out there now.
Right.
And at some point in the future, there might be additional. There should be a better way, either walking or biking, to get to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
But when you do the comprehensive plan, it's really should be, that's part of the information that should be drawn.
Yeah.
It can be just referred to, at least you know where to go look at it. And then the final one, table 12, which I think is the final, is public facilities action steps. And it just says regarding all those plans, adopt and implement. But the street has done a pavement management plan. I mean, there's actually something along those lines. But stormwater, pedestrian, water, sewer master plans. There is a CIP, so maybe 2 or 3 of the 6 are stronger than the other 3.
I'm not reading this anywhere, but is there a window that they've set? Like, is this for the next 10 years? This is what we want to accomplish.
That is probably something I see that could be better about this comprehensive plan update.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of comprehensive plans now will say, well, we expect this in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. Doesn't mean that it absolutely will
Sure.
happen within
Right.
those 5 years.
Right.
But it'll give you when do you expect those to get done?
Well, I think it does that, and also helps you direct your budget or your steer the funds, funding and stuff where people, or commissioners or whoever vote on all that stuff.
Right.
Do that.
So what do what do you think about this, Wally? Haven't heard from you tonight.
You haven't?
Not yet.
Oh, I thought I brought up the subject about the practice fields over at Grant Junior High and so on and so forth.
You did that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you're always going to need some way of following through. You set goals, you plan, and then, but do you follow through
Mm-hmm.
with it? And I don't know. I am not in any position to say whether we followed through or not, but I think that's important that we do look at that. And with the need for more housing, so it appears, water, sewer, going to be very, very important. Have the city groups, electrical, water and so on, have they expanded a little bit in the last 3 or 4 years? Or they have about the same amount of manpower now that they had then, and do they need more manpower?
I don't think they've expanded. I think the harder question is to make sure you have quality people
Uh-huh.
in those positions. And you're trying to do the best and each of the employees try their darndest to meet the needs of the city. And I don't have a question regarding that, regarding the employees, that they try their darndest to meet the needs. And, there's obstacles to that as well. So.
I'm not seeing much on any of these sheets about the streets. And as you know, I've had to drive 8th Street for 33 years, and it's not getting any better. But you feel like by next year, we're gonna be able to do something about 8th Street? It's an eyesore.
The
Yeah.
sales tax
Rough as hell.
will start in July.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll start developing the plans. And then it's a matter of can we set up the financing mechanism to be able to do the project either next year or in 25, whatever that looks like. Because obviously you won't have all the funds from 20 years of sales taxes to come in the first year, so how do you work that out so you can do the project sooner rather than later?
Has it become a priority now?
Oh, it's an absolute priority, yeah.
Okay.
And it'll be a big project. But there may be some questions about that. Do we keep 8th Street the same exact size?
Mm.
Do we, when talking about pedestrian and sidewalks, do we incorporate sidewalks into the project?
Yeah,
So that people can walk from that section of town to
right.
Main Street?
Yeah.
What does that look like as far as all the people that live next to 8th Street? And then we intend to go from, a block east of K27, wherever that concrete ends, next to the county shop. But from there all the way to Caldwell. There'll be a couple questions surrounding the project of how to do it the right way. But it is an absolute priority. That's why it went on the ballot.
Yeah. The schools have been criticized some about picking up elementary students and where and how to do that. And it sounds like they've got a plan, and hopefully there's some follow through there. But do you feel like the schools have worked with the city on developing that, or are they just going to go ahead and do something on their own? Because it's a concern among quite a few parents picking up their kids and so on.
We've had multiple discussions about around West Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
Around North Elementary, hasn't been as much of a concern.
Yeah, you don't have quite as much traffic up there.
But West Elementary, we're attempting one solution, and they may take some other solutions that will cost more in order to fix the situation. But it's also, what are the expectations to have 300 parents show up at the same time and expect to be able to pick up and drop off their kid within 5 minutes
Yeah.
is not a realistic expectation. So it's okay, what are the expectations and how are we going to work that out in order so it can function in all types of different weather situations. So we're trying a cheaper solution and we'll see what the after if we still want to pursue other solutions. But the communication has been good and the collaboration has been good between the school district, the sheriff's department, and city staff. So
Good.
When I was tennis coach for about 11, 12 years, the school and the city worked very, very well together to get good tennis courts. And we're talking about over there by the swimming pool, you know. And they remain to be very, very good. One of the things that was done was go look at some other schools or cities and what did they have and how did they accomplish it. But anyway, that I'm using this as an example of how you can make things happen, but to make them happen in a very positive, fruitful way. So anyway, I like what's happening with our planning commission. We're setting things out in front. We're looking at, you know, you're always wanting to look at different possibilities. And I'm just an old retired school teacher. Taught him everything. No, he didn't need to be taught very much. Anyway, you said you wanted to hear from me, so here I am.
appreciate it.
But I think working together and having objectives is extremely important. I guess I had some doubts about improving the access to the southwest ball fields. You got so many strikes against you there. You got the railroad, you've got Highway 27, Highway 24. It just, I don't know. Hopefully we haven't had any accidents or anything there, and hopefully the parents stay on top of it as far as letting their student ride a bike out there.
It's hard. You know, I've got one that's an 8th grader, but he's managing for the high school baseball team, and he's starting to drive, and that's like, no way am I going to let you drive out there right now because of where it is. But I would say that now that we're traveling around to some other communities and looking at where their ball fields are, it's a problem everywhere. Because where do you put that complex where you have room to spread out and do what you do? They wind up on the edges of the city.
Yep.
Because, you know, back when I was a kid and we did that, we had to go to all the elementary schools and you just traveled around depending on where your game was. And we didn't have a complex. So the complex, just having it's great. But Colby's is the same way. It's super hard to get to and a long ways from city center.
From other stuff.
Yeah. So same problem. Every little town, it's a struggle.
You know, ours is also close to the interstate, so you're getting that kind of
Yeah,
traffic.
you got that traffic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe simple as just putting a light or something out there, I don't know, or just use the one off of 27, one that's by the Frontier Ag or something. I don't know.
More opportunity there for sure.
Yeah.
As far as safety and protection, was it a smart move to move the police out to the airport instead of keeping them here where most of their action seems to be? I don't know. I've heard a lot of comments from friends and community members and so on, and many of them didn't think it was very smart. Is it working out?
I think it works pretty well as far as for the facility for their needs. Now, as far as the community contact, and I worked in 911 dispatch for a number of years, so there's a number of ways to contact the police department. Doesn't necessarily have, it can occur a number of different ways. So, in some ways, I think that's a really good facility for them. I don't know if it's in every way. And I don't know about fitting in this building. I think that would be preferred to this building. Just because for actual police business, interviewing people, interviewing suspects, arresting suspects, it gets harder when it's in a city hall environment.
Yeah, I understand that.
So that part of the business is better in a separate facility. Now, as far as the public access to contact them, you need a vehicle to contact them out there. Just kind of the same thing that you have with the ball fields. It's in at the
Just
edges
at the
of
edges
town.
of town. Yeah.
But so you don't have the walk-in access.
Well, they're the gatekeeper from coming from the north. Make sure nothing bad's coming in.
Yep, they keep you that 45-mile-an-hour zone. They keep you in check now because there's probably going to be one there.
Well, I've definitely seen a lot more activity out there. Like they'll do some training or have their dogs or whatever, and I see different. I don't know if they're conventions or whatever conferences they have out there.
They're different training seminars. They probably have
Yeah,
half dozen to a dozen of them a year.
yeah. I was gonna say it seems like I see one at least every month because I work out the weather office and I see all, not just from Sherman County but from different communities. And they meet together, so I think that's probably been a plus. Now they're building or continuing to build the fire training center.
Fire
out
training center on the other side of
there.
you.
Yeah, so I mean,
We're trying to encircle the white.
yeah, that's right. As long as they don't get the flames going to block the radar. we'll be okay.
Hey, we could have Denver's problems.
How about you guys as far as the second time through? Any additional?
Nothing additional, I don't think. I mean, it's good review again because I haven't thought about it in a while. But you know, I think what we talked about tonight is the goals were good. I think a lot got accomplished. I think as we rewrite the new one, we need to be much more specific, time bound. You know, all those sorts of things that we could do better. But I mean, they laid out some things that did get done. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'd like to follow up on what Wally said. I mean, I definitely think follow through is important, but to start off, maybe prioritize a little better too on, I mean, it's just like they just threw a whole lot out there and, okay, where do we start? You know, and I get some things are going to take, you know, it might take 3 or 4 years before we can get active on it. Okay, so we don't put it on the back burner, but we can put something else in front of that. We can get something done. But I think setting a priority and, like I say, not necessarily a deadline, but at least a realistic goal when we can get this accomplished instead of just leaving it open. And I think that really helps. Doesn't just help us as a group, as a city, but it helps the community to see some action, see something happening, and it gets people excited, I think. And hey, we're doing it. Say they said they were going to do this, they did it. You know, it's kind of gets motivates people. So I think that is helpful too. So. But yeah, I think what we talked about tonight and last time is I don't know if we need as many. I don't know. It seems like there's quite a bit, but I don't know what that window is. This 20 years? Is this 10 years? You know,
Usually comp plans are 20 years,
20 years. Okay.
20 or 25.
You don't want to over. I mean, it seems like we accomplished a lot of it, but what were they really thinking? How much of what they were thinking did they really accomplish? You know, like retire. They talk about retirement. But was they talking about the Topside Manor and Wheat Ridge, or were they wanting more?
right.
Or, you know, so there's got to be kind of something we can gauge that. You know, if we had success, or that's what we was talking about. More detail, like you said.
My wife and I have just gone through the ordeal of trying to find a duplex or apartment all on one level because she's had some problems with her knee and operations and so on. But you know, much to my delight, I thought there were quite a few choices out there for us to pick from.
Mm.
And we're talking about reasonable prices.
Yeah.
Yeah. We found one facility that wasn't very reasonable, but the rest of them that we've looked at, and I think we've got, I don't know that our landlords here in Goodland have an association. I doubt if they do, but
No.
I think they do try to work together a little bit and hopefully for the betterment of the community.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some pretty good, you know, opportunities for different like duplexes and different apartments and so on. But and naturally the older community, I put myself in that now, you know, we have different needs than the middle-aged part of our community, and so developing our master plan or whatever is going to have to take everybody into consideration, and I think probably, you know, one of the better things our planning commission can do is be out there talking to people, getting opinions, finding out what did they think of the city manager and things like that. No.
Well, and that's the part, when we get down to the nuts and bolts of the comprehensive plan. It's how do you get that public participation?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can hear from all sectors of the community, the seasoned citizens, the middle-aged folks, the people with young kids, and people who don't have any other families here.
My wife asked me if there were any women on the planning commission. What did I tell her?
Not yet.
Not yet.
There's one opening, right? I'm not gonna invite my wife to join, so
Yeah.
I won't have a say in anything.
All right, guys, I think in the sake of time, we'll move on if we're good with that section. I assume next month we'll probably continue on with whatever makes sense in that time frame we have, but
Yes, sir.
good discussion. So the next thing on our agenda is reports. So from the planning commissioners to start, Grady, anything to report? Okay. Wally, have anything?
No, I do not.
And no report from me tonight. So from staff, Ken?
Well, I wanted to introduce our new building official, Zach Hildebrand.
Zach, welcome.
He will be we'll be working together to provide the staff resources for the commission here. So, and he also works with the Builders Board and obviously does quite a few things building official and code enforcement wise. So,
Do you have experience? You've done this before, or is this your, okay. So you're like the rest of us, okay. Okay, all right.
so, and that's, I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right. So then minutes. So we're stretching back 2 months now, but they were in the packet. So anything to add, change, delete, edit that you guys saw in the minutes from February?
No.
I showed up here on the second Tuesday and it was dark,
Yeah.
but nobody had let me know that we weren't meeting. Was it because of spring break or what was it?
Oh,
In March.
In March?
yes.
Yeah,
it was because of spring break.
okay.
And we had sent the information to you, but then we didn't follow up phone call. So that's going to be our normal procedure
Okay.
from now on.
Otherwise, I've been real happy with, what's her name?
Felicity?
Felicity, yeah. She's been pretty good about getting information. That was the exception, but
Well,
Anyway,
it's because of that.
Yeah, we got off on our cadence because of spring break, but
Mhm.
hopefully we'll be back on a regular second Tuesday. So, all right. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes
so move.
and a second.
A second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, that passes. All right. With that, I move we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right.